Today we've got a couple of speakers I want to check out. First one being Goldenear's brand new T66s. So shout out to Goldenear for sending this over for me to review. Thank you guys. Let's go ahead, get this thing unboxed, see what it looks like. I'm kind of excited because they haven't updated their speakers in quite some time. The last ones that I reviewed, I think, were the BRXs, which were the little bookshelf models. So kind of like the smaller versions of these ones. So if you guys missed that review, me and Bill had reviewed it, I want to say about a year or two ago, and we compared it against the KEF LS50s, and we actually preferred the Goldenear BRXs over the KEFs. So once we get the box open, we have the quick start guide, and then we also have the owner's manual. We also get us some additional tools here. Allen wrench, this little guy here. I'm not sure what this is for, probably to adjust the feet. We got spiked feet, and then we get some rubber tipped feet. And then lastly, since this is a powered tower, it does include a power cable. So this looks very different from the old Triton series. So instead of the the cloth grill that went around the Triton series, this actually has the brand new perforated grill, which kind of bows out. So if you tilt this a little forward, you can see that the front of it kind of curves forward here. But I like this a little bit better because you can actually see the drivers now. So behind the grill, we've got some 4 1/4 inch mid-bass drivers. We got the high velocity AMT ribbon tweeter right behind the grill there. We've got the quadratic subwoofer, as they call it. I believe it's a 4x9 or 5x9 inch powered subwoofer. And then on the sides, on each side, we've got one there. And then we have one on the opposite side. It is an 8x12 passive radiator on each side, which will give this a frequency response of like 30 hertz. So not quite full range, but pretty close. Now, size-wise, this is it's not a giant tower, but if we measure it out, we're looking at about 15 inches from front to back. All right, from left to right, we are looking at about 7.5 inches wide. So I'll put the exact measurements on screen. And height-wise, we are looking at about 48 3/4 inches in height. So it's not too tall, also not too small, and it does weigh 60 pounds. All right, so let's swing this thing around. Check out the connections down here. So around back, we have the DSP-controlled amplifier, which is rated at 500 watts RMS or 1000 watts peak. This is also bi-wireable, so you can bi-wire the tweeters and then also the mid-bass drivers separately if you want to. And there are these little jumpers included right here. And since this is powered, this does have the little volume control for the subwoofer. There's an Elfie input. You get a little auto on-off indicator there. And then on the bottom is the power inlet. And if you couldn't tell, this has a super shiny, glossy piano gloss finish. And there are no scratches in it right now. So I feel kind of bad if this gets dusty and you have to wipe it, and it's gonna get all kinds of mirrored little micro abrasions. But right now, this is like perfectly mirrored finish. And the bottom base plate is actually cast aluminum, so it's pretty heavy, it's pretty dense, which should add a lot of weight to the bottom of the speaker so it doesn't tip over. These are the Definitive Technology DM70s. These are not the flagship models, they're actually a step below. But I think these should be pretty comparable to the Goldenears. And anybody that knows anything about Definitive Technology and Goldenear speakers knows that the founder of Definitive Technology went over to create Goldenear. So these are basically pretty much the same idea, the same premise. And again, thank you to Def Tech for sending these out for me to review. So let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. So this comes pretty nicely packaged. So I'm just gonna remove the foam and then I'm just gonna slide it right out. So included inside the box, we get the power cord because these are powered towers. And then here we have 4 spikes for the feet. So here we have it. This looks very similar to the older model, the BP series. I think I actually covered this over on Eliza's channel a few years back. So if you guys missed that review, well, it actually wasn't a review, but there's a video about the older BP series on the channel. But again, these are the newest models, the Dymension series. This is the DM70. Obviously, it is covered in this cloth grill all the way around the entire speaker. So I can't even show you what the drivers look like. But let's first measure out the speaker and see how big it is. This does come in at about 15 inches deep from front to back. It's about 7¼ inches wide. And then height-wise, we are looking at about 47½ inches tall. And it is a pretty heavy speaker. It does weigh 74 pounds. So it is about 14 pounds heavier than the Goldenear T66s. So behind the cloth grill, there is a 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter. It's got two 5¼ inch mid-bass drivers, and it's got a single 10-inch subwoofer built into it, as well as two 10-inch passive radiators, which will give this speaker a response of 30 Hertz up to 23K. And it is powered by a 250 watt amplifier, which is located right here in the back. And you can also, right back here, you can adjust the subwoofer level. There's also a 0 dB or -6 dB rear tweeter. So just like in the front where you got the 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter and the two 5¼ inch mid-bass drivers, which is also mirrored on the back. So there is a 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter back here, and then the two 5¼ inch mid-bass drivers. So if you want this to be more direct sounding, you would put this on the -6 dB. But if you want to get the full bipolar effect, you put it on 0 dB, and then everything, the front and the rear, will fire at the same level, which gives it a nice big kind of spacious soundstage up front. Also back here, you get your binding posts for your inputs. So this is for your regular speaker inputs. Then above this guy is the height input. So if you want to opt for the DM90, which are the additional height channels, which would mount to the top of the speaker. So you would drop the actual DM95s right on top, and it would angle upwards for your Dolby Atmos bounce house kind of effect, which is pretty cool. So here we have it, two speakers that are very similar to each other. The real big main difference between these two is that the definitive technology is bipolar. So you do get the drivers on the front, you also get the drivers on the back, whereas this one is strictly a monopole, you only get the drivers on the front. But they are both powered towers with built-in subs. Although this one does have an LFE input, this one does not have a dedicated LFE input. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these things set up on my 2-channel setup, and then I'll come back to give you my full review. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.